Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week I checked out Endgame, and this 1983 film was directed by Joe D'Amato and stars Al Cliver, Laura Gemser, and Gordon Mitchell, among others, of course. The story of this film takes place far into the future of 2025, and in this kind of world, they have like a death game going on, and so like the star of the death game is Shannon. And after, his most recent win in the death game, he is hired by this woman to transport her and a few other people across the wastelands to get to some, terminus point. And so he has to, build a little team, get his buddies together, and then, of course, actually cross the wasteland, facing mutants and cultists and whatnot. What will happen, though? Well, for that, you gotta watch the movie and find out. Alright, so let's discuss this film. So what works with it? Well, first thing I gotta say is it's right out of the 80s, and it's one of these 80s apocalypse movies where it does try to, borrow from other movies at the time, whether it's Blade Runner with the music, or Mad Max with the aesthetic, or any of the other ones that are out there. And of course, what is it? Not Endgame. Endgame is this movie. Running Man, that's it, with the death game. So they have this death game at the beginning. And so it certainly does borrow from all of these different 80s movies, and it all just puts it into this one movie. And I actually really kind of like that for it. It's certainly not a homage because it's, a contemporary thing where they're just trying to, copy it all. And I did enjoy that. It meant that the world was never boring. I thought, like, going from the death game to going out into the wasteland, and then what happens in the wasteland, and all these different things, it just meant that things were always, continuing to happen. So the world itself is full of things to discover. No matter where you are in the story, they're always discovering something that is generally fairly clever. And so, yeah, certainly the whole 80s world of it all certainly works for me. And continuing on with that thought, I thought the music was really good. They do, of course, steal some of it right out of Blade Runner. It's that smooth blues jazz types of stuff. And I really did like it. I loved just kind of the familiarity of it all. And so they use it appropriately too. Like whether it's the setting or something in the story that kind of requires that kind of tone, it works for what it is. I'll clip one in here for you. So you've probably heard that music, 100 times, but it just goes into it to make something familiar and enjoyable for this movie. In addition, all of the characters are really fun. They have one called Ninja, and he was my favorite character. I did enjoy the main character as well. And all the other kind of teammates, they all have something going on that makes them kind of distinctly themselves and unique. And so I thought all of the characters really do work with this one. Even kind of the main heroine here, she does a good job too. She kind of has a much more lesser role than all the other characters, but still she is fun. All of them, I'm going to just say, are fun characters to go along with. So you really do get into them. You really kind of do root for them. You get a favorite here and there as well. And so yeah, the characters certainly suck you into this one. Another fun element of this one is the car that they drive. They actually have a whole little caravan with a few motorcycles and then just like a white van. But the actual car that they drive, I don't know what it is. I enjoyed it. It has no doors. But this thing is like so close to the ground too. Like anytime you see it drive, like I'm just so scared of them like scraping against a rock or something like that. And so it's just like a fun car that you get to see in this wasteland. It does play a little bit of a role in it. And yeah, it's just a fun car, I gotta say. What else can I say about this movie? I don't know. I just thought it was a fun, apocalyptic trip through the wasteland out there where they're, visiting cultists and mutants and this and that, and all these things happen to them. And I don't know, it's just interesting. It does kind of remind me of a book as well called The Chrysalids. If you read that book, it's very similar to that kind of story. And so yeah, it's just this fun apocalyptic romp. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this film. Well, of course, there's going to be a lot of things in this one that probably mainstream audiences aren't going to enjoy. I really don't care that they're copying these other movies. I, in fact, rather kind of enjoy that. But they have other things in this one that, of course, are not supposed to be in it. They have quite a few flubs and errors or mistakes, and most of it has to do with like the ADR. That's their voices on top of, the picture. And so there's a few times where they just like say the wrong name and for the character. And it's like, oh, Ninja, like you stay here and we'll go over there. But the Ninja like goes with them. And it's just because like another character stays. So they've clearly just said the wrong name. And things like that are in there. They also have, what is it? With the bad guys, they have like these gangs. And they just use the same extras for all the gangs. And you're just like, oh, well, I've seen this guy before coming from this other direction or whatever. And I don't know, it's just kind of fun that way. And so it's one of these things where, of course, they haven't paid too much attention to it or whatnot. But I don't know, it certainly adds fun for me, adds fun for those keen-eyed viewers who are looking for these things. And certainly you have to go into this movie not with a serious heart or anything like that. It is much more just for the fun of everything. And the flubs are certainly part of that fun. Also, I thought the fighting choreography could be better. As it stands, it's pretty like slow and janky. It kind of looks like they didn't really practice it, or they don't have the most, martial arts people on set to, really get it down. And so that is certainly in there. It's certainly something I can overlook. I don't have to have the best, fight choreography. After all, there's lots of gun battles and that type of stuff to, kind of hide from the fact that their hand-to-hand stuff is not the best. So it is something to overlook, but, it still is in there. And another thing that I do appreciate them having is some makeup on some of these extras. They've kind of like reused some of these makeups as well. It's kind of like clear when you see how it's edited together. But it's just like a few prosthetics here or there, just kind of whatever they have, just to make it look like they're mutants. And it's very slight. It's not the best, that's for sure. But I appreciate that they tried to put in this detail. When they actually have like them like driving up, they actually don't have this makeup on. It's only for when they actually do the close-ups. So it's not even that good edited anyways. But again, like I said, I appreciate that they tried. As for a recommendation, well, if you like 80s movies, then do try to check this one out. It is a lot of fun with all these different elements from 80s movies that you love. So if you can, press play on this one. I think you can find it on Tubi. And as for my rating, well, I thought it was pretty fun, so I'm going to give it this 6.7. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.